Thank you everyone for joining us for our Payroll Solutions Community for Accounting Professionals live Q&A on this fabulous Wednesday, February 19th, 2020. We have a guest presenter with me today, Lisa Galletti. Why don't you just do a brief introduction of yourself and what you started out doing, what you've been doing the last couple of years, and why you're joining us today.
Because Shannon made me. No.
I did, huh?
I am, let's see, I'll give you the abridged version, right? So I'm Lisa Galletti. I am located in Northern California, a couple hours above San Francisco. And I spent most of my career, probably, 20 plus years as a payroll specialist for higher education, so government fund accounting, all that fun stuff. Lots of audits, lots of transparency. And then a few years ago, I switched gears and I started working from home. And I have been doing a little bit of everything, but for some reason, I still have people reaching out to me for help with payroll. So Shannon, you and I connected, I think it's been a couple of years now.
It has been a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, we were in the same accounting groups or bookkeeping groups and kind of following each other. And so it's been really great to reconnect with you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we had, just so everybody knows, last week, Lisa and I had a 30-minute call that turned into 2 hours, and yeah. both of our heads were spinning with different things. And because when you get a chance to talk to somebody else who really understands and knows payroll, yeah, you kind of nerd out and your head spins. And yeah. So Lisa's agreed to join today, and hopefully we have a really fun Q&A while we're we decided that we've seen a lot of questions in the groups talking about why you should outsource payroll, and a lot of people looking at ADP and Gusto and Patriot and Paychex and Sure Payroll and all the other ones, yep. Paylocity, OnPay. Well, I don't know, there's thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
But what the differences are between some of them, and if you're the one that's still processing payroll, are you really outsourcing it? That's always my big question. It's just like, all right, so you say that you're outsourcing it to a payroll software company, but you're still the one processing payroll. And how are you best serving your clients? Do you understand and know all of the compliance issues for every state that you have clients that have payroll?
Right. So, there's a lot of moving parts. I get excited about it. I know that's really weird.
Oh, I do too, because yeah. You get, a state passes a new law, like Minnesota in August passed the wage theft law. So now every time you hire an employee, you need to have them fill out a 2-page document, have them sign it, give them a copy of it, and keep a copy in their HR file. And I think some of the software companies didn't tell anybody that this happened until recently, like within the last couple of weeks. So every person that they've hired from August 1st until they found out about it was not in compliance.
Right. And I think you hit on something there. You mentioned that the payroll software companies, right? I think it's kind of interesting because we think that we're perhaps outsourcing our payroll to payroll professionals when we send things to Gusto or ADP. And some of them are. I mean, some people do have certifications and have worked in payroll, and they have a lot of experience. However, I would say the greater majority of those providing services on those online platforms are dealing more with the software issues, So maybe when you go to them, you're not getting a compliance expert per se every time, So keep that in mind.
and usually when you call for support, you're not getting payroll specific support. You're getting support on how to do things in their software.
Exactly.
I was recently talking with somebody who they called one of the software companies to figure out if they needed to set up a different account for one of their clients because their FEIN number changed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what question the support person at the payroll software company asked them?
No.
What's an FEIN and why does it matter?
Yeah.
They're like, oh my goodness, that is, how do you work in payroll, even just as a support person at a payroll software company and not know that FEIN is a federal employer identification number?
Right.
If it changes, it's a big deal and payroll needs to be under the new number.
Exactly.
So,
I did, Shannon, you mentioned the list of names of different payroll companies. I thought I saw something for OnPay, and I haven't researched them, but there was some interesting information on there. And I thought I saw that some of their, if not all of their support people are like certified through the APA. And I don't know, I need to go back and look at that. So
I think I saw that too.
Yeah, because they started as a payroll company. They didn't start as a software company. So that may make them just a little bit different in the market. I don't know. I haven't checked them out yet.
See, and I checked them out, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, because when I was looking for a different platform to process my payroll on.
Right.
And, that's a topic for another day, because that was a 7-year process for me because I started out using QuickBooks Desktop for accountants, and it was 7 years, and I just started transitioning to using another software, and I'm not entirely sure that I like it, but I paid a couple $1,000s to be on that platform. And when you get on the platform, I'm like, I don't know if I like it.
Well, I think a lot of times too, what we have to remember is payroll compliance is very rigid. I mean, there are definite structures in place that we need to follow, but there's a human component to payroll that isn't involved in other aspects of accounting, that an employee may have unique situations, or even an employer may have unique situations. And a lot of times what I find is,
where's my W-2?
Where's your W-2? It's on its way. No. Oh, let me email it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a new I have a new address. I'm sorry. I moved.
Actually, I terminated an employee in November, and her W-2 got returned to me.
And so what's your obligation as the payroll person? I mean, that was a question that I had for you, because I think I saw it come up in your group. Maybe?
So yeah, if you have a phone number or an email address and you get a W-2 back, you are required to figure out what their new address is. Don't open the W-2, but leave it sealed with, and I always tell people that if you get a W-2 back, make a photocopy of it, that it was returned.
Yes.
Send the original in a different envelope and just send it along.
Yeah.
Because, and I was in a discussion with somebody a couple weeks ago, because Gusto they are only electronic. They don't print and mail W-2s. They only offer electronic delivery through their portal.
Okay.
Well, you still are required, if somebody hasn't accessed their W-2 by the end of January, you're still required to print that and mail that to them.
And do a lot of people know that? Do a lot of processors know that? I mean, people who have payroll clients. I think there's would be really cool, and I don't know, I mean, you and I have researched to see if there's any kind of training out there. I mean, I think most of us probably learned payroll by working in it. I was very fortunate to have some stellar mentors, but I can tell you, for the first 5 years, I didn't have a clue I mean, I was like, things were just coming at me, and it was like, am I ever going to get this? Am I ever going to get it? Well, it's a lot. Payroll is, and you have, like I said, you have that human component. So what you're doing with payroll, even if you're outsourcing it or whatever, there's a human being at the other end of that process that the pay.
It's probably living paycheck to paycheck.
Most of them are, right? So it's a big deal if something's wrong with their paycheck.
Oh, right. And I mean, and you and I discussed this last week, as I was a single mom, and if anything happened and my paycheck was short, or it was a day late, it was a huge problem.
Right.
Even, and certain times of the month it was a bigger problem than others.
Right.
Because even if you are able to have a little bit of savings or something, but things always come up. And the one thing that you have to be able to rely on as an employee is that your paycheck is, one, going to be on time, and it's going to be correct. And if it's not correct, that it is going to be fixed immediately.
Yes.
Not any, submit a ticket to support, and hopefully.
And maybe you'll get something in a few weeks or whatever. Right. Or I think the question in your group yesterday was from someone who the client was insisting that they not pay the overtime that the employee had worked. And I thought, first of all, you're out of compliance. Okay, that's just a no-brainer. Right. But secondly, what's it doing to the trust that employer has with that employee? I mean, you're as an employee, you work the time, you put in the overtime and everything, and now your employer's like, it's not my problem. I'm not going to pay it for you right now, if ever. I mean, what does that do for your mindset as an employee or the employer-employee relationship?
And frankly, since you've got the role of payroll person, you've got the responsibility to the client as your it's your job to say that's not how you do it.
To educate them, right? To educate them, yeah.
Well, my job is to protect you as a bookkeeper. Well, in my case, a certified fraud examiner. My job is to protect you from doing something dumb.
Right.
Okay.
And in that discussion, the guy said, "Oh, well, I informed my client that they have to pay overtime, and the employee is not an exempt employee, meaning that they're required to be paid overtime, either at 40 hours or 48 hours, and that really depends on the type of employee that they are and the state that they're working in." And Lisa, you're in California, so you have a whole completely different set of.
Well, I'll throw another little loop in there too. I had 4 unions that I dealt with. So I have 4 different agreements that superseded everything else. I mean, it's even more complicated. So they had their own statutes of how they dealt with overtime too. And each one was completely different. So you'd have to refer back to the contract. And boy, let me tell you, you don't want to cross a union employee. You just don't want to go there with it.
You have all the union reps on speed dial, right?
Immediately, your phone starts going off. So, I feel like even as a bookkeeper or an accountant or whoever, if you're taking on the responsibility of payroll, you do have some responsibility to educate the client or to say, hey, can't do that. The other thing I thought of is, I wonder if that employer was even aware that employee could go straight to the labor board.
Those are headaches you don't want.
I would make that my responsibility so that they knew that employee could go straight to the labor board.
That would scare me more than anything. That would be like, okay, I was always taught to err on the side of the employee. I mean, it's kind of like be proactive rather than reactive. So that's kind of my philosophy. When I read these things, it's like, ooh.
Can I tell you a story along the lines of taking care of the employee and having it explode on you?
Yeah.
Did payroll for Dish Network. Kid says, I didn't get a check. And so we said, by golly, you didn't, so let's go ahead and write you a replacement for it. He came, it was a direct deposit, and we'd had a bank merger in our area, the bank changed all of its routing numbers, and the folks in Colorado did the data entry to correct all that so everything would go to the right place. Of course, they did not pre-note. So this kid says, my money never arrived. And so we wrote him a check, pulled the money back, and the bank manager at the place that we did send it said, sorry, we have no idea who this kid is. This is not our account number. Go away. So we, and this was a $1,200 check. He had all sorts of overtime.
Yeah.
So about 3 or 4 days later, the kid comes in and says, you deposited this to my college account, the one I share with my brother. I've never told you about this account. And getting into Ceridian, we couldn't find that particular bank as a choice in the first place. So there's no way we could have plugged that in. Somebody had fat fingered it there in Colorado and happened to give a bank that was in our area and that happened to be one that this kid had an account at. The receiving manager saw the Social Security number, matched it with the kid, and deposited the money. When we tried to pull it back, that manager just turned us away. So this kid wound up getting 2 checks for that particular paycheck, and then of course by that point he had blown his transmission and spent it all. So we were pulling back $100 a check for the next year, I think, on this kid.
Right.
But anyway, it was, how do you send it to the wrong place when you can't? And then he's got an account there, and they deposited it, and we've never, it was a pretty classic.
It was like, really, no matter how much you put, something weird like that can actually.
Yeah, but luckily we'd written the kid a check, so he was ahead of the game, rather than waiting, and that would have taken 3 weeks to figure out probably if, and he'd have been bouncing checks like mad.
Right.
Right. But let's get back on the topic of why we should outsource payroll to a real payroll company and not a software company, especially if you don't know compliance. And I don't know, Lisa, Tim, have you guys seen a lot of big payroll messes in your careers that you've had to figure out and fix when somebody that didn't know what they were doing was managing a payroll software and thinking that they were outsourcing payroll, and things didn't get done. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody realized that these things weren't getting done on time or at all. And then you've got years worth of cleanup. And a lot of times people don't know how to fix it. And they'll call the software company, oh, well, it's not our responsibility because, XYZ, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. And somebody on your end should have caught it. They always push it back so that you, the person who submitted the payroll request, should have known that this changed or it wasn't done, and nobody caught it. So I don't know, just each share one story, and then I'm going to share one.
Well, we didn't have the crises. Our crew did a pretty good job. We did it all in house. So Dish Network's huge outfit.
Yeah.
So that was a little different situation. I can't address the outsource crisis except to say that I earned my certified payroll professional certification right there. And thought I was hot stuff, and I printed up business cards and started a company called Small Time Payroll. Thank God I never got any clients. Let's walk away from that one. But there are, establishing a track record, finding somebody, get references before you sign up with somebody, because it could be somebody like, the kid with the certificate on the wall that thinks he's hot stuff.
Tim, can I ask, what is it that you do?
I am a certified fraud examiner.
Okay.
And I'm going to churches and helping them tighten up their financial procedures to reduce temptation and protect reputations and keep the money where it's supposed to go. Right.
So what kind of, just really quick, because that's interesting to me, because I've always had checks and balances in the systems that I've worked with. I've been fortunate as a payroll specialist to have other people audit. We self-audit, and then we had other people, layers of auditing.
Sure.
So
Great.
they could
Great.
catch that, internal controls. So what kind of internal controls do you like recommend for entities like that? If they just have like, what do they have, like a solo bookkeeper that's doing everything, or do they have...
That's the critical problem, is they give all the financial responsibilities to one person.
Yeah.
And that person will inflate the time cards, or change a pay rate, or issue a duplicate paycheck or something like that. Nobody's watching.
Right.
And so you've got that person doing the reconciliation. So the first thing to do is make sure whoever prepares payroll is not the one signing the checks.
Yeah.
And by extension, the bookkeeper does not sign checks.
Right.
You can play with the money all day long, throw it up in the air, watch it, come down. That's have at it, and you knock yourself out. You can play around in the books all day long, but don't give the same person the ability to cover their tracks and touch the dough.
Yeah.
So that's the primary. If you reduce my job to one sentence, that's it.
Well, and that's fraud 101 too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people don't know fraud 101.
I know. So
the other thing is have all of the statements, credit card and bank statements, mailed to the senior pastor or the business owner or his designee, his or her designee. And then this would be somebody that does not have any financial responsibilities. They can look for anomalies, large amounts of duplicates, weird voids, so on. Or in the church case, you see a Victoria's Secret charge. That's a clue you need to look a little close. You think I'm joking? That's from an actual case.
No, yeah, right. I know you're referring to something.
Sure, but that don't give the same person the ability to touch the assets and keep the books, and then have somebody else looking at their statements before they're processed. Just do a smell check. Those are that's 80% of the crises I see.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
All right. So Lisa, what's your favorite payroll cleanup disaster story?
Well, I was just thinking that I just had a recent one. I think it was just late last year that I was helping with some cleanup, and it was 2 years worth of payroll cleanup. And when you kind of get handed those things, typically I get them from CPAs, and they say, figure it out. And they give me the clean numbers and everything, and I'll file everything or whatever. So this particular one was a company, and we're talking like well over hundreds of thousands of dollars in payroll for this 2-year period of time. They outsourced the payroll to a local payroll processing company, and I don't know. It was just probably a very local within their region. It was Tim. No.
Yeah. Well, those guys, yeah, I remember them.
They outsourced, which is fine. I don't want to bash anyone. Shannon's great. There's other ones that are great too. But the interesting thing was they quit filing and quit making tax payments. Or
were they impounding the taxes?
Shannon, unfortunately, when I get a cleanup project, I get about half of the information. So
you get half? I'm so jealous. That's so much.
It's almost like somebody dumps a big 1,000-piece puzzle out on my desk. It says, here, try to make sense of this, whatever. So my question, where my mind always goes, is who wasn't paying attention to this? Like, how do you not pay $10,000 in payroll taxes? And
I'm a payroll genius. Look how the costs have gone down.
And nobody notices this? Like the bookkeeper, the owner, somebody, and I don't think the IRS usually waits 2 or 3 years to send the letters, or the notifications that you haven't paid. So it's like, where's everything going?
Well, if there's no payments and no returns being filed, it does take a lot longer for the IRS to catch up, because they are such a behemoth and a small moving.
And to their credit, they've been going through such an upheaval in the last few years, right, in the IRS.
Right.
Really, truthfully, things do get behind. For some reason, though, people I know tend to get their notices right.
Me too.
Right now. But That is the piece that always bothers me. It's like, how difficult would it be, even if you outsourced payroll to someone, how difficult would it be to look at a report once a month or even once a quarter just to see, or to check your bank balance or whatever it is, just to go behind? I mean, employers put blind trust in these entities to take care of everything.
Let me add to that. We trust our people is what I hear from the pastors all the time.
Right.
That's how all embezzlers got their money.
Exactly.
You know, and the failure to pay taxes and diverting it to their own use keeps the church bank account the same. So that's not noticed. It's just, and the letters or the mail comes to the financial secretary there at church. And so IRS notices just get thrown in the trash. So.
Yeah. And you know, as a payroll person, I had no problem. Well, I was audited a lot. I mean, both internally and externally, because we were dealing with public fund.
Right.
And there's complete transparency down to the penny. And I think that was actually a good thing now, looking back. I actually started my working career as a bank teller. I think I told you this, Shannon.
Yeah, you did.
Holy cow. I mean, cash means nothing to me at this point, because I used to handle hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, and it was just paper, right? You know, it means more to me.
It is.
You wash your hands afterwards.
Oh, it was that, and it's dirty, and then anyway. But we were audited constantly, and at first, you know, as a young person getting started, I was nervous, and I was, you know, like, oh, they're auditing me, and you know,
it's terrifying.
They don't trust me. But over time, what I realized was, if I was doing my job, it was a good check and balance for myself. You know, it has a positive, audits have a positive slant. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it teaches you to be a better payroll person or bookkeeper or whatever. Oh, there we go.
Certified fraud examiner. There we go.
I think I would like to do what Tim's doing.
I know.
I'd like to get paid for it. That's all.
Yeah, I do it for free all the time when I'm reviewing people's books and different things. So I'm whenever I'm going to tell you my worst payroll cleanup story is always going to be one of the most recent ones that I took on.
Yeah.
And I talked to somebody on Monday this week, and their first clue that something was wrong with their payroll was when the IRS person showed up at their door. So, because the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that if you get set up to run payroll for somebody and you are their representative, the IRS notices can come to you and not to the business owner. So that's how I really truly believe that is how some of these people get away with things for way longer than they should. Yeah. Because this company, they started out, they were small, they work in construction. Originally they had 5 employees in 2016, and now today they have over 25 employees. And the IRS auditor, well, it wasn't an auditor, it was, I'm talking more with her later in March to do, because she wants to learn how to do training and figure out how this happened so that it doesn't happen again. So it's a little bit of payroll cleanup, payroll education, and you know, Tim's specialty, fraud training, because this problem didn't just start. It started in 2017, and this company was impounding the taxes and saying that they were filing the returns, and you know, and so whenever I start a payroll cleanup, or even when I'm doing a payroll training, I have everybody sign a authorization so that I can call the IRS and pull transcripts of their whole payroll history. It's the 940, the 941, their W-2s, and, you know, or if they're a small employer with fewer than $1,000 of tax liability, or is it 1,500 now? They can do a 944 and just do an annual return, which I run into a lot when I'm running the payroll for kids. And it's a 943 for an agricultural, right, Lisa?
Yes.
I'm just throwing numbers out there. I can say numbers all day long and sound
1, 2,
really
3,
smart.
4, 5, 6.
I'm impressed.
Right.
I'm impressed.
Tim's impressed. I'm impressed.
But and then there's a 945, and I forget what that one is. But there's the thing to remember is that when somebody at the company has to physically be looking at everything and driving the train. I mean, trains can run all day long on the tracks until there's a problem. And then all of a sudden you've got the train is derailed and there's a big mess to clean up.
Right.
And, you know, hopefully somebody's paying enough attention that they're not getting to the point where the IRS is showing up at your door and putting a lien and taking all the money out of your account. And these poor people were set up as sole proprietors. So the IRS took their personal money, their business money, their savings, everything. And because they had about $150,000 that the IRS determined that they owed. So they took everything and left them nothing to pay their employees. And how come the IRS always takes your Monday the Thursday before payday?
Oh. Yes.
That's because that's when there's money there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and all of the times where the IRS is, and the lien notices have gone out to the registered agent and not to the business owner. And I think, you know, if something's getting to that point, I think that the IRS should be sending out the notices to the registered agent, to every business owner of record. The notices should be going out. You move and you change your address with the IRS, and it triggers like 4 letters. You get 2 to the old address and 2 to the new address. How come the IRS can't do that when they're sending out these notices? They only go to one person. They should go to everybody.
I think too, Shannon, do you feel like there's people maybe think when they outsource to ADP or Gusto or whatever that they're taking care of all that? Like they're actually paying attention to your one company and how everything is flowing, and oh, maybe we should notify them about that. No, they're not. I mean, they're in the business just to simply process. So,
well, and there's a concept here that might be useful. There's a train rather than a car that can turn left and turn right. The train goes from here to there. The train, it doesn't matter whether you want it to go, you know, someplace else. It goes from here to there, and that's it.
Right.
So this company that you hire starts with numbers that you send on a spreadsheet, or, you know, however you communicate with them, and it ends with checks in employees' hands, and that's all that. I mean, that's where the train goes. It doesn't go off into the analysis side.
Right.
Right, and I agree, Lisa. So many times people outsource to ADP or Gusto, which realistically they are just the software provider, and somebody has to be either the bookkeeper, the accounting professional, the business owner. Somebody has to be paying attention and making sure that the numbers are right, that the right states are set up, that the money that's being impounded is getting paid. Right. Because that was my problem when I was testing out one of these companies. Was I know what's going on, and I was keeping really close attention and paying attention to what was happening. And the day before my tax returns were due, nothing had been filed, nothing had been initiated, and I did everything on my end, but the software wasn't processing it correctly. So I printed the stuff that needed to be printed and mailed, and even though my taxes had been impounded, they hadn't been paid. So I wrote checks to pay my payroll taxes, and or went online, filed the returns electronically, and electronically paid my taxes. And thankfully I had the money that I could pay the taxes twice. But just look at what happened with my payroll HR. They were paying their payroll taxes twice. They were paying their employees 2 or 3 times. It was just this huge mess. And how many companies went out of business because they didn't have the money to pay these things 2, 3, 4 times? Because
payroll is a large liability for a business, usually.
it is. And when it's done wrong, it can totally destroy a company, even a really well-established company that seems to have good cash flow. Unless you're able to go get a really big line of credit to cover your payroll and your taxes several times, you're going to be in trouble. And I lost count on how many businesses with my payroll HR went under because of what happened. And
was that the outfit that folded, what, about a year ago?
It was in September, was when it really all came crashing down in August, but it wasn't until September that it was publicly crashing down. It was internally imploding, I think, for a really long time. And I've done a couple of Q&As talking just specifically about that, but more stuff is coming up. I mean, the bank that processed their ACH lost their FDIC insurance and their NACHA licensing, and they're out of business.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that had a far-reaching effect. Now, I just want to make a point, because Shannon, you can't do everybody's payroll.
I can't.
Even everybody in the group, you can't. You just can't possibly. Even if you hire me and 200 other people, you can't do them all. So people are going to outsource. I think the key thing here is that they need to be paying attention. There is more of I laugh when I read these articles about big accounting firms and they've got 200 payroll clients, and it's just so easy because they just go in and press a button. And I'm thinking,
it is.
That's great, but there needs to be some oversight. You still need to pay attention to what's going on and do it proactively rather than reactively. It may take you a little extra time each month to go through and just make sure that things were filed and payments were made. But isn't it better to find out that month, a month later, rather than a year later or 2 years later or whatever?
It is. And
Hey, Shannon, I got a moneymaker for you. Are you ready?
sure.
Hire a programmer. I could do it, but you probably want somebody that can write clean code. But what you do is you set up a reminder system where the guy gets, for $5 a month or something like that. The business owner gets a checklist to what to look for, and he climbs on a website and says, "Yes, I looked at this and we're clean. Yes, I looked at this and we're clean." And then when he doesn't do that, then it rings a bell and you get on the phone and scream at him. but that basic idea of what do I need to do? Yeah. These guys don't know. They need a checklist. No, they don't.
Right.
If they get it by email and bright red flashing letters along with dancing hamsters or something like that, then they could go in and clean it, do what they're supposed to do, tell you, and it's invisible. You don't get any notification. But if they fail to, and it's 2 days out, or you charge them for how much fingers on, But anyway, you can make a gob of money doing that.
Well, yeah, and
every small business needs it.
Yeah. See, and you and Lisa bring up a really great point with people paying attention to things. Every time I talk to an accounting professional or a business owner, and they're like, "Oh, does it integrate with the accounting software that I'm using?" I tell them it doesn't matter. You don't want to use the integration. And I might be old school, or I might be overthinking this, or but my thought is, if every time your payroll is run, you have to pull your payroll summary and use the template of the journal entry. My clients all get a template of a journal entry, and I know there's like 3 people out there that might be watching this right now that I'm behind and I don't have your template. I'm gonna get them out to you this weekend, I promise. And you take that template and you put in the numbers, and you have the template, and the template has, you can have it be as detailed or as generic as you want it to be based on what metrics you want to track or what you need to track in your accounting. And you catch so much by doing that. In one of the other groups that I'm in, somebody accidentally paid their $1,000 a week employee $11,000.
Oh, okay, that would probably drain the bank account.
If I did that, that payroll would have not gone through. It would have bounced, and I probably would have lost my direct deposit capability. And what happens a lot of times when you overdraw on a payroll, the company that processes your direct deposit will shut you down or suspend your account for a set number of days, which causes all sorts of other problems.
Yeah.
And this is also something that I run into when I do payroll cleanups. It's like, oh, well, we had a problem of a pay run bounced or a tax deposit bounced, and insert payroll company name here, suspended our account. So we just went and found a spot where we could estimate their taxes, so we could write our employees paper checks. Well, then they never put those back into the payroll software when their account is unsuspended. So the W-2s are wrong, their 940s are wrong, their 941s are wrong, their state reports are wrong. Yeah, everything's wrong. And then they'll file their work comp audits based on the wrong information. So it's just this huge, you make one.
No, it's not. There's no problem with that.
Snowballs.
There's
and
no
gets
problem with
bigger
that.
and bigger.
There's no problem with that. You just call Lisa and make her fix it.
Well, I was thinking of a tagline, and it's like, payroll, pay me now or pay me later. Either way, you're going to pay me, right? You're either going to pay me to set it up right, or you're going to pay me to clean it up before you have to. You probably a lot more for the cleanup.
Pay me a little now or pay me a lot later.
Yeah, we repair what your boss fixed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
oh gosh.
It's funny. The 3 of us, we could probably go on and on and on. Look, we've almost spent an hour.
we have. These normally go, 20, 30 minutes at the most.
I feel sorry for the people that are in your group probably going, oh, come on.
Well, we have now dropped down to one person that is watching us live, and nobody's made a comment, and we've been live on Facebook for 43 minutes.
This is kind of the part that nobody really wants to address, right? Everybody wants the software fixes and how do I make this work and how do I make that work? But this is all the theory behind it.
Well, right, and everybody's situation is different, and I don't even cringe or laugh anymore when an accounting professional comes to me and says, my client got screwed over by their payroll company, because half of the time, them getting screwed over by their payroll company was something that the client did or didn't do. Right. And like one of the ones that I really laugh at now, the person came to me and they're like, this happened and this happened and it's all the payroll company's fault. And then come to find out when they're doing the cleanup of the books, that they quit paying the payroll company. So you know what happens when you quit paying the payroll company?
Nothing gets done.
It doesn't happen anymore.
So I would have a question for your group, because I think that your group is mostly accounting professionals, right?
Yes, yep, this one is accounting professionals.
This
I
one
have
is
a
accounting.
separate group for S-corp and other business owners.
Okay, so my question would be is, what do those accounting professionals need to help them make this a little easier? Because like I said, obviously you can't do everybody's payroll, but how can you kind of help them in a way? I mean, is it that they need a little more
I do
payroll, or, you know, kind of what to look for? Like, teach them, like help them understand what things that they can look for at month end or something, you know?
Yeah, I'm developing a course that people will be able to purchase, and I've been developing this course for a year and I still haven't recorded anything for it. But in the meantime, what I do is I have training packages that I sell to other accounting professionals to either work with them to fix something or set something up, or just give them an overview on, here's, you know, just the overview of payroll and the theory. And then so we'll just spend a little bit of time on that, and then when they have a client that has an issue, they've already got the training package, and we go through, and I'll help them get the correct information that they need from their business owners and their employees, and let them know where they can find the information on their particular state.
Right.
Because the information is all there. We just have to know where to find it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I'm working on putting together so that it's all on my website or in different files in the group, is a map of the United States where you click on the map and it will tell you everything you need to know about the state that you're working in. Because usually a lot of other payroll companies and payroll software companies have this, but I've looked at a bunch of them and they haven't been updated since 2017 or 2018. And there's a lot of law and
changes
that's changed.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of the payroll guide?
The one that APA put out?
Yeah, a big book about that thick, yeah.
They don't do the book anymore. I have the digital copy of it.
Do the book anymore? That book was great. You could, you know, swat things with it. No.
But it's like a big Bible.
Yeah. I covered mine in
leather.
leather.
If it was printed out, it'd be this big.
Yeah. Yeah, but that they have a state version, or they have a state-specific supplement, if I recall.
Okay.
And that might be a very good starting point, if not everything you need.
A very good resource, yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, and I think Shannon, Tim, all of us, you can't know everything about everything. We all have to go and research things too. It's just looking in the right areas for the correct information too. You know, you don't necessarily want to go on someone's personal blog to learn about. I mean, hopefully.
I read it on the internet.
Hopefully they feed you over to a real entity, like, you know, a real government agency.
Right, and that's where some people fall short with their research capabilities. You can Google stuff, but, you know, are you going to know the difference between going to somebody's blog and getting their opinion versus going straight to the governmental agency that is in charge of it and reading their fact sheet? And how easy is their website to navigate? Or can you even read what they've written?
Yeah.
Because I read a lot, and some of it is not easy to comprehend. And, you know, a prime example, and I think people just don't read, like the 1099 instructions.
Yeah. Well, most people don't enjoy stuff like that like we do, Shannon.
I know. Seriously, there are people out there that prepare 1099s that don't read every word of the 1099 instructions every year, Lisa. Can you believe that?
Right. If you're going to do it, if you're going to offer it as a service, you better really know it.
Yes, but we need to end this this conversation because I've got a lot of other meetings coming up today, and I'm sure everybody does too. We've had a couple of comments on the on the live on Facebook. Amanda says, great insight, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Okay.
And another Amanda just gave us a whole bunch of waves, and I can't tell if that's like raising your hand, but she does love the videos. So we're going to assume that the hand waving is a positive thing. So
Good.
Okay, I'm going to work on that reminder system. That might be a fun project, and I host things
yeah,
myself, so and do the programming. So I'll play with that. I'll get back in touch with Shannon and Lisa. I'll get back in touch with you.
Hey, you know, Tim, it would be good to test that in some of your church cases. You know, maybe just use them as a case study with that system. Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining us. And God, this went way longer, and I think it is, well, I was given a lot of really awesome information. It went a few different directions than we had originally intended when we discussed this, but I think it was all super valuable. So thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon, for having me.